בוקר טוב לכולם, ברוכים הבאים לסשן השמיני שלנו בסדרת המפגשים סביב נושא ה-Cloud Financial Management. שמי אלי מנצור, אני Enterprise Account Manager ב-AWS ישראל, ויחד איתי פה נמצא גם שלמה דוברובין, Senior Technical Account Manager בצוות שלנו. הסשן היום יתרכז ב-AWS Cost Explorer, כלי ש-AWS מציעה ללקוחות שלנו במטרה לאפשר לכם לנתח ולנטר ולעשות גם אופטימיזציה של העלויות שלכם. הכלי ניתן בחינם וחשבנו ששווה שנתעמק ביכולות של הכלי ולהציג אותו בפניכם. קצת לוגיסטיקה לפני שמתחילים. במהלך הסשן כולכם תהיו על השקט. שאלות אפשר לשאול דרך מסך הצ'אט מימין, ולקראת סוף הסשן נעבור על השאלות וננסה לענות על כולן. קצת פרטים על הסדרת מפגשים הזו, ה-Cloud Financial Management Enablement Program, מי שלא מכיר או מי שזו פעם ראשונה, או יש הרבה כאלה שעוקבים אחרי התוכנית גם. אז בעצם זו סדרת מפגשים שמטרתה להתפקס בכל האספקטים של Cloud Financial Management. בעצם להעניק לכם את הידע וההיכרות עם כלים ש-AWS מציעה בכל מה שקשור לאופטימיזציה, governance ואופרציה של העלויות של AWS. היו לנו סשנים סביב טאגינג וסשנים סביב savings plans ו-RI, סשן סביב spot instances, storage cost, אופטימיזציה של עלויות הנטוורק, והיום אנחנו נתפקס ב-AWS Cost Explorer. איפשהו אנחנו מרגישים שהענקנו לכם היכרות עם ה-pricing models השונים וטכניקות לאופטימיזציה, ועכשיו נתפקס באיך רואים ואיך עושים אנליזה לעלויות. מי שמעוניין לצפות בסשנים הקודמים שלנו, יש לה תוכנית ערוץ יוטיוב משל עצמה. תיכנסו ליוטיוב, תקישו Cloud Financial Management Webinar Series ישראל ותגיעו לכל הסשנים הקודמים. סשנים באים שמתוכננים בסדרה, יש לנו את BMC שספרו את הסיפור שלהם בכל מה שקשור ל-Cloud Financial Management ואיך שהם עשו אופטימיזציה לסביבות שלהם. נתפקס בסשן שלאחר מכן ב-Cost and Usage Report ואיך בונים דשבורדינג מעליו. נתפקס באופטימיזציה של עלויות AIML, Windows Workloads ועוד ועוד. אז כאן באה לסיומה ההקדמה, ואני מעביר לשלמה את השרביט להמשך הסשן. אליך שלמה.
Thank you, Ellie. As you mentioned, we're going to be looking at Cost Explorer. It is a way to see your costs and to drill down into specifics and to get to the data that you're looking for. You don't need to pay a third party in order to do this. This is a free service, and there have been a lot of investments over the past year. We're going to be talking about, we're going to do an overview of the Cost Explorer, how to use it, how to use the forecasting feature. We're going to go through a number of use cases that you may be interested in seeing how to find these costs in your account. And we'll talk about cost anomaly detection and wrap up with right sizing recommendations. And there'll be a time at the end to ask questions. So when you first connect to Cost Explorer from the console, you'll get a screen similar to this. We see here the current month costs, what our current bill is at, forecasted month-end costs. There's a trend, and we have this chart here. So if we look at the trend, we can click on it. It takes us into Cost Explorer and actually shows us the filters that are being used in order to see this. And we can see here that there was an increase on April 4th with ELB. And that's what caused this trend to be recognized. If we go into Cost Explorer, either here with the Explore Costs or on the left side, Cost Explorer, Then we're going to start with a generic view. Important features here, we can select the months that we want to see. So when I click on the bar here, I can select the months going all the way back to a year, assuming that the Cost Explorer has been enabled on my account for that whole year. You can also say I want to look at auto select 1 day, 7 days, current month, the last 3 months, the last 6 months, month to date, and year to date. And you can even do +1 month and +3 months. This is part of the forecasting feature, which we'll talk about in a minute. You have a daily view and a monthly view. There's also an hourly view. An hourly view is a paid-for feature. If you come down here to Preferences, you can enable the hourly view. You can also enable resource IDs. It will show you EC2 resource IDs. It will only show you for the last 2 weeks. And like I said, that is the only paid feature with Cost Explorer. On the continuing along the top here, we have a bar chart. We have a bar chart, which we're looking at now, and we have a line chart. And there will be a stacked bar, which we'll see in a few minutes. And then we can group by. So there's a number of things that we can group by. There's quite a large list, and there's a more, and you can see that this is quite a large list. Often what we would want to see is we would want to see service. So if we click on service, we can see that most of my costs in this account are from Shield Advanced. Another option is to see the bar chart, and things will show up next to each other. But since the Shield Advanced is so expensive, the other costs in this account are not showing up. So we can do things over here on the filter side. So there are many filters that we can set, and they combine with each other. So if I come here to Shield, then I can click on this, and when it shows up blue, we're looking at include. And I can change this to either clear the filters, or I can change this to exclude, and it turns red. So when I do that, now I can see I have many different things that are showing up here, but it's still a little hard to see. Let's see if we can switch this to monthly and get a clearer view as to what's going on. So in the last 2 months, we can see that my VPC has been the major cost, followed by EC2, EC2 ELB, CloudTrail, S3, and then other. So other here is it's a combination of everything else. In this particular case, it was kind of expensive compared to some of the other things that are here. And by the way, you can also see the data that is supporting this chart at the top. You can see in this table. So we can see, for example, that the top 5 costs are VPC, EC2 Other, EC2 ELB, CloudTrail, and S3, and then we get to the others. So what I can see here is I've got QuickSight, I've got CloudWatch, Glue, Route 53, and a bunch of other things down here. And this table at the bottom, I can export as a CSV. So if I wanted to see, for example, if I wanted to see 1 month's worth of data in a daily format, and then I do download, I can open that. It'll download the CSV file. In my machine, it should open in Excel. And here it is. So this is a little difficult to see here, but we can see at the top we have the services, and along the side we have the dates. This is actually a little bit opposite of how I usually prefer to see it. I usually prefer to see this with the dates on the top. So I'm going to select everything, copy it, and then I do a paste special transpose, and it will flip it for me. So now I have the dates at the top. Another little thing that someone taught me once is I can do insert table, and my table has headers. And now I have this as a table, and I'm just going to select the data points and make them into US dollars. So everything will be nice and clean. And then I can do things like I can filter or I can sort. For example, I can say anything greater than $5 I want to see. And so I can quickly sort through things and filter things as I want to see what's going on. The other thing that I wanted to mention here is we have the ability to save a report. So we have recent reports listed here, but I don't have one, and I can save this. So I can do save as, and I can call this something, Cost Explorer Floor 28 Training, and I can save this as a report. Now I can go to my reports here, and it's going to save that. Okay, thank you. And I can go to my reports here. Some of these, the ones with the locks, were created by AWS for you. And then I can see the ones that I've created. So I have a 7-day spend. So I can just click on that and it will show me my 7-day spend with whatever filters I have set up. And I can go back to my reports and do go back to where we were, the floor 28. So it makes it real simple. If I come up with a view that I want to come back to over and over again, I can make a report and view that report. Also, when we were talking about forecasting, so if I select anything in the future, so right now we're in April, I can select till the end of the month, and I can hit apply. Forecasting is not supported when there is a group by selected. To enable forecasting and remove the current group by selection, click OK. Okay, so group by does not work, but the filtering does work. So now I'm looking at my costs up until yesterday. Today it just has a little bit. And there is an estimate what my costs will be going forward. And these lines show the possible range that the forecasting is using. So the bar is what it thinks it will be, and this line is showing the range. It could go as low as here and as high as here. And as we mentioned, the forecasting is also shows up in the chart at the bottom here. So if I wanted to do any kind of manipulation based on my forecasts, I can do that as well. So I can do that like we did here. We did this for the whole bill except for Shield. I can put that back in and it will recalculate the forecasts. And if we move this to monthly, then we should get a view of how much we think it's going to cost. And we can see that here. So we also have some use cases that we might want to be able to see. So if I wanted to see VPC costs, right? We saw earlier that my VPC costs were my major expense, my major cost. How would I do that? I'm just going to come down here and clear out my filters. I just want to have usage, and I can swap this to include. Okay, and I can look at my VPC costs. So I want current month, no, month to date, and I want to see this by service. No, I'm only looking at VPC, so there is only one service. So the other options that I can do here, I can look at usage type. So here I can see that my VPC costs so far for April, I have a cost in USW2 is US West 2, which is Oregon. And I have a VPC endpoint hours costs, and I have still in in Oregon, I have a transit gateway cost. So that is costing me $30, almost $29 this month. If I look at this daily, I can see it goes pretty straight across. So this gives me the total up to almost $6. And I can do the line just to get a comparison. So I can see that the transit gateway is $2.35 and the VPC endpoint is $3.36. So this is this is the VPC, but also we have some networking things that we might want to see. So for networking, I would look in EC2 Other, and I can get rid of the VPC. So I can look at the EC2 Other. I see that I have a few different things in EC2 Other here. So I have EBS volumes. I have my elastic IP addresses. So maybe I'm not concerned with the EBS volumes. So what I can do is, we're grouping by usage type, but I'm going to come here and I'm going to type EBS in my usage type filter. I'm going to select everything, and then I'm going to flip this to be exclude. I don't want to see EBS right now. So then I can get a different view, and here I see I've got idle IP addresses. This one here without a name tag with it, right? This one, it says EU, and this one has no title. So I know that this one is actually going to be in Virginia. I can actually switch this to region, and I can see that I'm either in Ireland or in Virginia. So I can, swap back and forth to get a good view here. Now what's interesting is I have data transfer regional bytes here, and I have US East 1 to US West 2 AWS out bytes, and I have US East 1 to US West 2 AWS in bytes. So this is between region traffic, although I don't think I have anything here. If I go all the way to the right, it'll give me a total. So I don't actually have any traffic here, or at least no charged traffic. What I can do, if we clear this, I'm going to type in bytes. Let's see if I can get these when I select all of them. So what I've done, now we can see that, first of all, I have another piece of the chart. When I am filtering to include things with usage type, and they are the same metric, so all of these 249 metrics are all in bytes, so it will show me the usage. So now I have the cost and the usage. Now here I don't happen to have any usage or any cost, so it doesn't show me anything. We'll see this again a little later, and it will be easier to see something here. So if we clear this back out, and we go back, and we are now going to, so before we were looking at networking costs, now we're going to look at EBS costs. So if I look at my EBS, so I've gone here and I've typed in under usage type, I'm filtering for EBS and I want to include, and I'm going to include everything. Here, now I have some data at the bottom here. So I can see here that I've got EBS volumes that are using GP2, and I've got EU, which we saw before is Ireland, volumes that are using GP2. And here I have US West 2, which we know is Oregon, and I've got, again, GP2. And I have US East 2, which is Ohio, again, GP2, and then I have GP3. Now, what's interesting here is if I was reviewing this with a customer, I would ask, why do you have so much in GP2 and not GP3? Right? This is an opportunity where you're still running GP2, which is the older version. GP3 is the newer version. I would recommend to the customer here that you should investigate if your EC2 instances can work properly with GP3. GP3 has a 20% price discount, and the IOPS, if you needed additional IOPS, first of all, the base IOPS for GP3 are much higher than GP2, and unlike GP2, where you increase the IOPS based on increasing the size of the disk, you can actually increase the IOPS on GP3 separately from the disk. So you can, if you only need 2 gigabytes of space or 10 gigabytes of space, you specify the amount of space you need. If you need more IOPS, then you can pay for those IOPS separately and end up with a overall less expensive volume for your EBS. So this is how I would explore some of the bigger costs. If just to look back at the service to see if there was another service that made sense to dig into. Oh, I need to get rid of my shield again. Right, so we looked at VPC, we looked at EC2 other. Here I can see, we saw that my EC2 ELB has been increasing, and we can see that most everything else has been pretty static except for this EC2 ELB. So I can come over here to ELB. I'm going to get rid of my shield, and I'm going to go for include, and I'm going to apply that. And I can look again at usage type, and I can see that I added a load balancer. First of all, we can see that there was an increase in cost around April 4th and 5th. And if we look at the line, we can see specifically it jump here. And if we look at region, then I can see that this was in Virginia. So if I wanted to know what was going on here, I would go look in Virginia and see, okay, do I have a new load balancer that I started up on April 4th? Maybe I forgot to turn it off or something. And that's what I would go and look for. I have seen, by the way, where customers will keep spinning things up. So if you have a deployment and it's not auto-scaling, it's only adding resources and not turning off, you'll end up with one of these jumps, but then I could see, for example, the next week or a day later or something, I would see another jump, and you end up with this step kind of increases instead of just a spike. So that's an area for concern, something that you might want to look into to understand exactly what is causing that. Okay, the next thing that we wanted to look at is data transfer costs. So we looked at networking, but we didn't actually look at the data transfer itself. So if we look at this account, if I wanted to look at data transfer, so I would go back to our friend EC2 other. And here, if I go to usage type on this account, I can see again EBS. I've got some snapshots in here. What else do I have? I still have GP2. This person needs to move to GP3. No, I see they did move to GP3, right? We see the reddish orange here stops in December and it moves to GP3. So this account moved to GP3. We see some snapshots, but we also see some data transfer. This is regional bytes. So this is cross AZ data transfer. Regional bytes is cross AZ data transfer. So let's take a look. If we go to usage type and we're going to do data transfer, so there are 47 of them. Let's select all of them. So here I see I don't have a lot of regional, I don't have a lot of data transfer costs, but let's take a look. There's something else that we can look at. Let's remove the EC2 other, and now I do have data transfer costs. So what happened if we come back here and look at service, So I was looking at EC2 other. I don't have EC2 data transfer costs, but I seem to have a bunch of other data transfer costs. So I have a bunch of Lambda EC2 data a bunch of Lambda costs. I have some S3 data transfer costs. Those are the main culprits in this particular account, and there's a little EC2 instance cost. So I can come here and it will tell me that in October I had 46 gigabytes of Lambda data transfer. I had 114 or 100, almost 115 gigabytes of S3. I had some EC2. Now, if I wanted to know more specifics, we can dig into these. So, for example, the big one is Lambda. So if we come here to Lambda, so now I'm going to filter on Lambda. And now I'm only seeing one thing, but I can come here to usage type, and I can see I've got data transfer out and data transfer in. So I'm only being charged for the data transfer out, but I have data transfer in as well, and I can see that because I have my usage type set up here. So I can see that my lambdas are ingesting data and they're sending out some data, and I'm paying whatever I'm paying for the data transfer out. If we take a look at the other one, the other big one was S3. So here I have EU data transfer out. That's the purple. And I have data transfer in. Again, I'm not paying for data transfer in S3, so they show up down here. I can see that I was ingesting data, but I'm not paying for it. And here I have US East 2, is Ohio data transfer out. So I can see the data transfer costs here. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention while I was still looking at this account is, there are a bunch of options up here, and we're going through a bunch of them. But one of the important ones here is tag. So there's a concept called a cost allocation tag. So this is a normal tag that you can put on a resource, and then you go to the billing console, and there's a simple process, and then you wait 24 hours to make it a cost allocation tag. Now, why is that important? Because I can come here now and I can filter based on, for example, project. So this account is set up, I'm going to clear my filters, is set for a project. So I have, well, some of it's set up for a project. So I have stuff that's not tagged. But I do have things. This one is called content. This one's called Rafi machine. This one's called backups. So I do have things that are tagged for project. So I can get an idea for what my costs are. I can do this, I can do this across accounts. I can do, all kinds of slicing and dicing here now with my tags. And tags also show up here, so I can filter. So I can say I don't want to see, for example, the no tag. So I can exclude the no tag key project. So this is there's no tag. So I'm only seeing what is tagged. Or I can flip this. No, I want to flip it here. And I only want to see the stuff that's not tagged. Right? Maybe I want to look by region and say, okay, so I've got global. This is going to be this is probably going to be CloudFront, which comes in as global. But I can, and this one is no region. But I can start digging into, what's going on here. Now, if I wanted to find let's look for the global. So I can come here to region and I can type global. Okay, so now I'm only looking at the global, and then I can come here by service. Oh, this is registrar. It's not CloudFront. This is registrar's Route 53, or the registrar. This is Route 53. This is the registrar. Registrar is for registering a domain name. Route 53 is for running the DNS for that domain name. So that's why this is showing up as global. I can then look at my no region. and that's tax. So that's usually, like I showed before, usually I come here to charge type, and I would look just for usage, because that is the most useful here. Another thing that I wanted to show you while I was here, so if we come here and we look for EC2 instances, okay, I don't care about the project tag anymore, so I'm only looking at my EC2 instance costs. So here I show very little costs, but if I do this, then my costs suddenly jump, and let's see why that is. Because we're going to look at purchase option. So the purchase option, here I have reservations. So this bluish color is the on-demand price that I was paying, and the purple is the reservation. So this is how much the reservation costs per month. Now, if I wanted to see the reservation usage, I can see that by looking up. I know that it's called box. I know that the EC2 instances show up as box. There is box usage. If you have ODCRs, which I don't have in this account, you would also see box non-used or not used. And there's also spot usage if you're using spot. So we're going to see an example with spot a little later. But I wanted to show you a simple case here with reservations. So here we can see that the on-demand is relatively small. There is an unused reservation that's at 0, so this was using it, and we can see the reservation cost here, and this is because it's amortized. If I go to unblended, which is the default, this is what I was looking for. So here we see that the usage the cost is very small. There's just a few cents, if anything, per month, because there's very little on demand. The RIs are covering almost all the usage. Just to have a simple explanation here, the unblended costs is the default view, and this is normally where we would see where we'd be looking. If you wanted to see where the reserved instances are being applied, then you can go for amortized costs. And this is an estimate of how the RIs are being spread across across all of the usage of and how the costs are being spread. Okay. Now moving on, if we wanted to look at credits and refunds, I want to look at this account. You can see that this one has a little more spend than the others that we were looking at. So I can look, just like before I was filtering in the filters based on charge type, I can also filter or group by based on charge type. So looking at my charge type here, I can see that there are some refunds. I can see that there are some credits. There's a recurring reservation fee. There's some usage. There's a support fee. So this is where you can see, where are your credits? How many credits did I get this month? And just like where I was showing you before, you can see the numbers down here in the chart, so you can see what's going on there. So let's take a look at RIs, spot, and on-demand usage, right? Because we want to be able to see, what if I wanted to see how much was being covered by RIs, how much am I running on spot, how much am I running on demand? I want to see it in one place. So we're going to come back to EC2, and I'm going to look for my instances. I'm going to filter on those, and I'm going to come to my usage type, and I'm going to look for box, which we talked about. And it's going to think for a minute. Okay. And I'm going to look for spot. And here we see spot usage for different instance types. There are 13. Okay. And we're going to switch our group to be purchase option. So purchase option is where I'm going to see on-demand versus spot versus reserves. So there is some spot. It's a little sliver there, but we definitely see some RIs and we definitely see some on demand. And as we saw in the other account, if I go to amortized, we can see the reserved instances, the costs now being spread out instead of showing up only when you purchase them. Now another question, I'm going to put this back in unblended because that's what I'm usually using. Now, another thing that we might want to do is what if I'm running containers? I'm not running EC2 instances, I'm running containers. So, so first of all, if I type EC2, I can see that there's a container registry. I can see that there's the EC2 container service. I can see that there's other EC2 things here, but I'm actually, if I switch to searching for container, so I have the EC2 container service. I have the Elastic Container Service. So one of these is the old name and one is the new name. So I just select both of them, and then I also have the Elastic Container Service for Kubernetes, also known as EKS. I think I still have something else in here. Yes, the EC2 instances I'm going to get rid of. Now, if I apply this, I can see, first of all, that we're running this on demand, and I can see how much per month, in this particular case, we're spending on EKS. Okay, this user is using EKS, and I can, drill down by usage type, and here I can see different regions are being used. I see the cost per cluster. I can see ECS, EC2 gigabyte hours. So this is, if we look at the pricing page, there's the cluster cost, there's the gigabit hours cost, and there's the vCPU cost. So I can see those all called out here. And then I can, do what I need to do. I can understand what's going on here with EKS. Now, if we move on to right sizing, so we have an option. It's here on the side, right sizing recommendation. I'm going to pull in this account. So here we have right sizing recommendation. So this is where you enable this feature, and Amazon will look at your instances, and first of all, we have selected here within the same instance family. So if we take this one, we say it's an underutilized instance, and it's currently set for an R5 24XL. The recommendation is to move it to an R5 16XL. 11% of the CPU is being used, and we can save $1,400 per month. Okay, so there's a bunch of these findings, and we can also see, for example, that we can look across instance families. So here we have another underutilized instance, and it's a C5 9XL, and they're suggesting that we move to an R5 4XL. Again, for an estimated cost savings of $556. So this is the right sizing. So we're using AIML. We're looking at your instances. We're looking at the utilization, and we are recommending, based on our best practices and our best knowledge, where you would be able to get the best bang for your buck. So we're helping you right size, which is always better than purchasing RIs and doing savings plans are also part of the mix of how to get the best performance for your EC2 instances. But the first step is always to right size. You right size, and then once you're comfortable with the sizing, then you can do things like purchasing savings plans or reserved instances. Another feature that has been rolled out is cost anomaly detection. So this is something that's quite interesting. So I want to know when there's a spike in my costs. Okay, So here we have cost anomaly detection. Now this finds spikes in your billing or in your usage, and it can alert you to those spikes. And you can set a threshold, so you're not going to get lots of emails or lots of notifications about things that are too small. You can determine what's too big and too small to get notification about. So the first thing that it says to do is we're going to create a monitor, and then we're going to view some detection history and analyze some anomaly details. Okay, so first we're going to go to cost monitors. And we're going to do create a new monitor. Now you saw I already had one, so I have one which is the recommended AWS services monitor, and I can only have one of those, so I can't create a new one, but I can create a different kind. So in addition to monitoring by services, we can monitor by linked account, by cost category, or cost allocation tags. So I'm going to choose cost allocation tags, and I'm going to choose owner, and I'm going to choose myself. And then I'm going to give it a name, Cost Explorer Floor 28. Okay, and then I'm going to hit next. Now, so I'm going to say, okay, I want to know about everything that Shlomo has created, right, with the owner tag Shlomo. Now I can get alerted. I can either create a new subscription or use an existing subscription. So just to take a look, I have a subscription already created that's called Daily Summary. And there I say that I want to know if the spend amount is more than $10. So if the spike is more than $10, I want to know about it, and the frequency is daily. And then there's an email address, which is what I'm using for my notification. Now, if this was a test account, maybe $10 is enough. Maybe $50 is enough. If this was a production account, maybe I care when there's $100 or $500 or $1,000. You can determine what makes sense for your workload. When do you want to know? It will now. I'm going to show you in a second, but it'll still find the anomalies. It will only notify you about the bigger ones. So you can still come in here and find all of your anomalies. It just won't tell you about them. So I'm going to create a new subscription. I'm going to call this again Cost Explorer Floor 28 subscription, and I'm going to say $100 for this one. And here we can say I want individual alerts, I want daily summaries, weekly summaries. We're going to say this one's weekly, and we're going to put in an email address if I can type properly. Okay. And oh, I see I can add another alert subscription. I can add a second one if I wanted, and I'm just going to create that monitor. Okay. Now it says it's been created, and depending on whether there are anomalies detected, you might begin receiving alerts within 24 hours. Okay, so let's come back to one that I've already prepared, and we see that it's already found in the one I created previously 5 anomalies for an impact of $9.22. My total spend is $31.75. And my change in spend from last month is 0. So here I have a bunch of anomalies. It says I have 11 of them. A couple are high, some low, and we can see that some of them, took a few days for it to find. There was an anomaly for a couple days, and then maybe it went away. So if we take a look at AWS config, because it's the top one, even though it's one of the smaller ones, if we take a look at it, we can see what we can see. So starting on April 11th, they detected an estimated cost impact of 18 cents across 2 days. Now, what's interesting is here I can submit an assessment. So if I click on this, it gives me a few options. This is where I can give feedback to the AI/ML and help train the system to say, yes, this is an accurate anomaly. This was accurate. Thank you. No, this was a false positive. This was not an anomaly, or this is not an issue. Yes, it is an anomaly, but it was expected. So I can give feedback to the AI/ML and get better results going forward. In addition, it gives me some of the details here. But in addition, I can click on View in Cost Explorer. So it's going to set up all of the filters and everything and show me in Cost Explorer, this is what I'm seeing. This is the anomaly, right? So we see on April 11th, so it was talking about here, 11 cents here, 11 cents here. So something changed. And this is what it's flagging. So this gives me the ability to get alerted to spikes in spend or usage above a certain threshold, and then I can, view them and determine, try and figure out where it came from, and I can set these up and get a good view, a good alerted view on what's going on in my account. One additional thing while I have a few minutes left, I did want to note that under reserved instances, I don't know if this was shown to you before, but reserved instances are available for a number of services: EC2, Elastic Cache, Elasticsearch, Redshift, and RDS. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that on the side here we have savings plan and reserved instances. We can see we can purchase our savings plans here. We can see our utilization report, which shows us how much of our purchased savings plans or RIs are being used. We have the cost report, the coverage report. So how much of my EC2 are being covered by RIs, or how much of my Redshift is being covered by RIs. And we have recommendations. So I can come here on this account and I can look at Redshift, which I know I'm not running. Maybe I'm running an RDS here sometimes. Nope. So if I was running one of these services, I can come here and get an RI recommendation of what AWS says, we can, what the terms are: 1 year, 3 year. We can play with the all upfront, no upfront. We can look back in the past by a number of days. I can filter this based on linked account, and I can get a visual idea and a list of what a savings plan, or here in this case, a reserved instance, would do for my purchasing. So thank you very much, and we're going to move on to questions and answers.